Kirby got a question about Congresswoman Janet Hall's comments. I'm going to ask you about another Democratic official's comments. Robert F. Kennedy was filmed at a dinner suggesting that COVID-19 was ethnically targeted at certain populations. The president's the leader of the Democratic Party. Does he believe that that sort of language, rhetoric, sentiment has any place in the Democratic Party or in American public life at all?
It's an important question. I want to be careful here because I don't want to address a 2024 candidate, right? We're not going to do that from here. But what I will say more broadly, which I think is important, because I think if you look at the last 2-3 years since 2020, since this pandemic hit, there are countless Americans, American families who are seeing an empty seat at the Thanksgiving table, right? For the past, who knows, couple of years, past year, couple of years, because of what the pandemic has done to this to families across this country, because of the suffering of COVID. And that is something that we have to acknowledge. And that is something that is important that we speak to. Because if anything, all of us probably have that same, sadly, that same thing in common, that we have lost someone that we loved because of this pandemic. So the claims made on that tape is false. It is vile. And they put our fellow Americans in danger. If you think about the racist and anti-Semitic conspiracy theories that come out of saying those types of things, it's an attack on our fellow citizens, our fellow Americans, and so it is important that we essentially speak out when we hear those claims made more broadly. I want to quote something that the American Jewish Committee said, which is the assertion that COVID was genetically engineered to spare Jewish and Chinese people is deeply offensive and incredibly dangerous. Every aspect of these comments reflects some of the most abhorrent anti-Semitic conspiracy theories throughout history and contributes to today's dangerous rise of anti-Semitism. And so this is something that this president and this whole administration is going to stand against when we hear that type of those false claims against Asian Americans, against Jewish Americans. We're going to continue to speak out, and we believe, and this is something that we just heard, it's important to protect the dignity of our fellow Americans. It's important to respect our fellow Americans, and so it is, as you can understand, the core principle of our country.
And then lastly, you took a